Hello everyone, this is Ron from High Tech Legion, and you might be in the midst of building your gaming rig currently. You're looking for something that can house a long graphics card or a tall CPU cooler, and also something that has an aggressive style, maybe a viewing window so you could show off your rig, and maybe something that isn't just the standard black case. Or the black has pretty much gone the way of beige cases now, and a lot of people have been looking into military style and green colored cases or white colored cases. And In Win might have something for you. In Win has moved into the retail space a few years ago. They used to be an OEM for various manufacturers, and they would be approached by these manufacturers to build cases for them. But they have since, of course, moved into the retail space and have been providing very unique designs, to say the least. They're taking their inspiration from with the Dragon Slayer from a knight, and they also have cases that look like a handbag, and cases that were for women, and cases that had diamond studs on them, and various cases. I don't know what the buck was about. It looks like it was inspired by a van, so I don't know what that was. But now they have something called the In Win GT1, which, according to the box at least, I have it right in front of me. Here, I've emptied it out. It takes inspiration, I guess, from a car, a GT1. It has the name. Of course, it is available in black or white versions. The white version has a black internal motherboard tray and a kind of internal panel. So actually works quite well. You'll see. Might as well just stop talking now, and I'll show you what you can find inside. The In Win GT1 is available in white or black. Obviously, this is the white version, and it also has available with a version that has the mesh side panel. This one has the popular viewing window panel. It has the In Win logo here on the side, and also typically we have the accessories inside, but once you open the package, it actually has the accessory right on top. And as you can see, just the way it's packaged, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like a typical case that can be had for its price range. It looks like a higher end case. That's what I always love about In Win cases. And you also, in here you get 3 of these cable management ties, which are unique looking, to say the least. And also you get a user's manual as they fold out, and it is also multilingual. You get your motherboard screws here, which are labeled. That's a nice touch. Some people don't want to consult the manual, and also has that adapter for putting in the standoffs with a screwdriver. So it's very convenient. And you also get the optical drive or for the SSD or floppy disk screws, which are clearly labeled. And finally, you get the motherboard speaker, and this unique thing, which is, you can see these are sort of rings that are 6-sided, or hexagon rings that go here in the front. You can customize the look to kind of give it an accent, and of course that is optional depending on the user. Actually, I like the look of the front as it is, as bare, but you can maybe create your own designs or spell out a logo however you want it. And here on the side, rather on the front, you can see that it has a mesh cover for the 5¼ inch external bays, and these are removable just by simply squeezing on the side. It reminds me, first time I've seen this was, I believe, the Dragon Slayer, a case that I still have, has that sort of front design, and these are high airflow covers, you can see there, and there is no filtering, unfortunately. Well, I would have preferred if the mesh here is colored white to kind of keep with the theme. And let me just put that back in. That is 3 5¼ inch drive bays, and here at the top you have a USB 2.0. There's actually a plastic cover. Let me just remove it. And I'm assuming these are the LEDs that will light up for the either power or the hard drive once we've installed our system later on. Well, I'll remove the plastic later on. The plastic is hard to remove right now. And you have the USB 3.0 front panel as well, paired with the USB 2.0, and you have the front panel connector for the microphone and your headphone. I like the fact that they actually have they don't have the pink and green colored ones. Those always make the front panel unattractive, so I like the way that the In Win kind of has that keeping with the chrome colored theme of the connectors there. They're just plain colored. And also here at the bottom you have the honeycomb mesh at the front. And let me see if I can pull this out. I think I had to probably open it from the inside in order to show you that, so we'll go over that later. Here at the top, there is a, see there, the In Win logo, and there is a reset button, which isn't easily accidentally pressed, which is a good thing. You have the power switch, and this is actually a very shallow press. It doesn't take much to press that. You have the silence and a turbo toggle for your fan controller, essentially an integrated fan controller. And you have a hard drive docking bay here for SATA hard drives or SSDs at the top. And while we're here in the top, take a look at the same layout here, where you can also attach those custom rings or hexagon rings that were included in the package, and also has that honeycomb look for the high airflow design. Here on the left side panel, you get an extruded side, which is, just grab my ruler here just to kind of show you. Just grab that. Just how many millimeters that is? It's about a centimeter actually thick. Of course, this helps. This extrusion will help with the with cable management later on. And here on the other side, that is also has a viewing window. It is also extruded. That is, of course, to provide more clearance for installing higher end tower style heatsinks. These side panels are held in place by thumb screws. And if you notice, there is a lock here, optional, if you want to take the In Win GT1 to a LAN party. Maybe leave it open. And the extrusion also makes for a suitable handle when you're just pushing it out, since there is no handle here in the rear. I would have preferred if these were these security bolts were actually not visible. They stand out a little too much for me, but as you can see, it's really firmly holding that side window. It is not, and also you can see there is no flex at all. It is very, very durable. I'm really surprised with the quality of this case, especially for the price point. And let me just remove this side panel here, show you the internal components. You get tool-free hard drive racks. What it looks like. Of course, you have the mounting holes for the SSD as well, so you can also install those. And there are these mounting holes already, rather these mounting locks, the nubs for installing your 3.5-inch hard drive. And there are, let's see how many of those in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. And there is still space. Let me see if there's space here at the bottom. There's actually room for 7, but they provide 6. How does this go? Yeah, there's one more room here at the bottom. So actually, let's see if it does fit. It doesn't mark it. It actually counts it as 6 in total there. But it looks like I can fit one more. There you go. You definitely can, but they only marked 6 in total. That's of course completely up to you. Maybe there is, okay, it's actually snug. It's stuck right now. That's why they didn't make a label. Oh, there you go. There actually is space here. That's why they didn't label it as having 7 and they only provided 6. As of course, it looks like there is a space here to kind of slide in another 2.5-inch drive. That's why they did that. Understandable. Very nice sign there. And here's why I can pull out the front panel earlier, because these are actually the kind of front cover that has to be opened from the inside. And see here for the optical drive, you have a tool-free locking mechanism, and it has the for wondering why it's a weird green color. Of course, the regular In Win cases use a green bladed fan, and it kind of has these lime colored green accents, but not with the GT1. So, but they reused this locking mechanism from another In Win case, but they didn't recolor it. That's why it has that green color. It's going to be inside anyway, and will be. Actually, let me see here. Let me put back the side panel and see if it's covered. So it's not. It won't matter. Looks like it'll be covered anyway. You can see there. It's covered anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's green. And let's see the connectors here for the front panel. There is, let's say, USB 3.0. Well, I'm surprised they only have a single USB 3.0 header there. I would have preferred if they provide, since they have the 19-pin header here anyway, if they provided two USB 2.0 and two USB 3.0 front panel. I don't know how much they're saving really by doing that, but I've noticed a lot more manufacturers have providing only a single or sort of an odd numbered front panel connectors. And here you have the HD audio and USB cable. Yeah, it doesn't have the AC97 for legacy motherboards, which is fine for me now. And you have the, let's see here, you have the HD LED, and you have the reset power LED. This is the power LED that has an alternate with the 2-pin, depending on your motherboard. It also has the 3-pin variant, so that's a cool thing to have. And the power switch. And you have for the SATA cable connector for the docking bay at the top. You have a SATA power port for that docking bay as well. Well, at least I'm assuming that's what it's for. There are these. It's actually tied into the back, so I can't remove it. But there are Molex connectors, which are for the fan. I'm assuming this one is for powering that fan controller, the built-in fan controller, and all of those are connected. All this rear fan is already pre-wired, and there's also a fan there. I'll show you that later once I have put back these hardware caddies. And here also you get see, there's cable management areas here. You can route your cables behind that. Cable management areas here. All of there's raised areas where you don't need to put a standoff in, and a large CPU cutout. Now here at the top, you can see there is a it's completely open there, so we'll see later on during the installation video what we can put in there. And also you have an appears to be is a clear bladed fan, so it might be an LED. Let me check out if there's LEDs here. Oops, sorry. Actually, there are LEDs here in the corner, so we'll see that later once we power it on. And here in the rear, you can see that there is the fan, and of course the water cooling holes. Also, there is a hole there for routing cables when you're going to mount it, or if you want to mount it outside. And you have the 7 PCIe expansion slots, which is standard for 6.7, and this is a type that is flush with the back. Now I've reviewed a case before. It has this type of layout. The only issue I've had with this kind of layout is that some heatsinks, such as the downward blowing fan types, will pose a clearance issue if they are routed toward the back, because there is a 120mm fan. You have to remove the 120mm fan to route that. But other than that, it saves space. It keeps the case compact instead of the longer type. Here at the bottom you have this 4 plastic feet elevated. Let me just grab my ruler once again and see how much clearance that gives. Looks like it gives about 2 centimeters of clearance, and you have a filter for the dust filter for the power supply here at the bottom, And you have a filter here for the optional 120mm fan that you can mount here in the middle. See, there are no holes here at the bottom. There's no holes here, ventilation for the front. As you see here, there is some flex. I've mentioned how strong side panels are, but you can hear that there is a little bit of flex here at the bottom because there is mesh here, there is mesh here. So I would have, other than that, I love the quality of side panels, but I would have preferred if this area right here would be a little bit, it will be a bit thicker than it is. But right now, as you can see that it does pop in and out. It doesn't matter really because it's not like it's going to collapse. It's still sturdy, but I just preferred if it didn't do that. Inside here at the bottom, you can see that the power supply is elevated further. There is sort of a metal rail that holds that in place. There is no padding, so it's metal. It's going to vibrate if it does, but it shouldn't be. We'll test it out later. If I will let you know if that produces noise or anything, if it rattles, once we do our installation video. In order to install a 120mm fan, actually you could install two of them. There's one here. You can just install it from the inside, but it'll be better if you remove the top panel. And if you want to do that, you have to unlatch it here to the front. You can see there. Just pull that down. See, there's also a latch here, kind of a sliding it, and there's also another latch there. It's also matching one here on the other side. So you basically have to push it backwards after you removed after you've freed it here from the front. Note that the connector on the front is still connected, so you have to be careful. You can't just yank it out. And there you go. You have access to the top. And I'll just show you what it looks like up there. Very open. See, there are some holes here, just for also routing your cables. You can route some cables here in the front as well. Of course, make sure that it's not obstructed by the latches holding it in place. And place back, just slide it in again and push forward. Here on the right side panel, the panels themselves is you won't be able to see it real closely, but they are quite predominant. They are actually quite textured. You can feel it. You can even hear it. They're not smooth type of texture, but either way, it's a very thick coat of paint. It's powder coated. And let's take a look at the back of that panel. There are these loops for kind of holding down your cables, and there's a kind of the angled here cable for holding down your power supply cables or your front panel connector cables. Let me just free them and see how long these really are. Generally, especially with the front panel audio, sometimes it might not be too long. They're actually long enough, as you can see there, to be routed at the bottom if you have that kind of motherboard. And there is a bit of space. Let me just measure here. With the 1 centimeter extrusion from the wall of this motherboard, there is very tight space here. So I'm just gonna see here how much I got. It is very tight. It's 1 centimeter as well. Although it looks like it is less because there is maybe half a centimeter, because there is this area here is folded. So we'll see once we do our installation if we can indeed fit our 24 pin here in the back, or we have to route it in the front. And as mentioned, let me just show you the front panel, because I skipped it earlier, couldn't free it. You can. It looks like, as you can see there, that you can only need to open the left side panel to open the to remove the front panel cover. That's a good thing. So you don't have to completely remove it. The front panel is integrated with the face though, so you have to be careful when you're pulling it out. You can see that I can't just remove it since the front panel wiring is held there, part of it. So let me just pull this out slightly. You can kind of see behind that, and just show you that there is no, just grab the camera here. There is no filter behind that, and here is where the filtering is. You have the, you can place another 120mm fan here. There is a 120mm fan here, and this dust filter is actually just held in place, but it's latched. Just, let me see if it's screwed in or not, but it has a very good dust filtering there. Just excuse the camera for a bit while I pull it out. There we go. You don't need to remove it, the screw, and see if the fan is also not screwed in place. Again, sorry for the camera. I'm holding it while I pull this out. There you go. It is not screwed in place. It is actually just held in place by this latch. It's very easy to remove and install later on. This middle hard drive rack can be removed to accommodate longer VGA cards. You have to remove the screw holding it in place here, one here in the middle, and there's also two more that you can access by removing the front panel cover. There's two screws here, and with that, of course, it gives you a lot more clearance than what you already have, although we'll test it out later once we have assembled our system. Aside from the internal hard drive trays, looks like you can actually mount an SSD at the floor by screwing it from at the bottom side here. Very, very interesting that you actually have room to install that on top of the 6 that are already in the caddy, the additional one here in the middle, and one other 2.5-inch mounting here at the bottom, which you can just screw in right on the floor, since SSDs can be mounted pretty much anywhere anyway. You can click on the description below to see the installation video where I assemble components piece by piece inside the In Win GT1 case. As in a separate video, since installation videos tend to run long, on this video I will next show you the benchmark results and my conclusion. Alright, as you can see, the performance is quite good. Not surprising since it is a high airflow design. You have the perforations on the top and on the front. And in fact, in the front, the only dust filter there is right directly on the 120mm fan. So it really gets a lot of air flowing through here, whether it is an intake or an exhaust. There are a few things that I love about the In Win GT1. For example, the side panel, it was very sturdy. Unlike other side panels within this price range, it didn't even waver. It was very, very thick steel, and even with the side panel with a window, it did not rattle because there was obviously it was bolted on all around it, so there was no concern about that at all. Plus, even the side panel, the side panel window itself is quite thick, and in terms of design, it's not for everyone, obviously, but it does look a lot better because of the build quality. It looks a lot better in person than you would see it in the photo, surprisingly. Unlike other cases, other cases are generally a lot better looking with the photos, but once you see it in person, it's a bit disappointing. But not in this case, actually. The same with the GR1. I saw the photos and I wasn't really impressed, but I saw the GR1 in person, and the build quality is a lot better. With the GT1, however, there were some issues I had with the fact that it only had one USB 3.0 port. It had one USB 3.0 port, it had two USB 2.0 ports. It already has a 19-pin connector, so I don't know why. I've been seeing it a lot with a lot of manufacturers lately. They have a 19-pin connector for the 19-pin connector for the header, for the USB 3.0, but they only have one USB 3.0 output for the front, so I don't know how much does it really save them in terms of that. But this one has plastic rings in the front that I don't know what those are really for, other than aesthetic reasons. So that adds into the price. So how much did they save with the USB 3.0? And then they decided to use some of that, of course, to put in the extra ring design in the front. So it's not very practical in terms of that, unless it didn't cost them anything to implement that, but I doubt it. That those hexagon rings. As for the mounting, there you can mount 120mm fans in the top. The top is hollow, that's why it was lighter, and also you just basically slide it in instead of screwing it in, so that will save a lot of time. Also, there were some clearance issues with the heatsink. The promotional info, the PDF I downloaded from In Win's website states that it has 186 millimeters of clearance. That is why when I measured it, well, that's why measuring in a review is always important instead of just relying on those information, because it's impossible for it to be 184 millimeter clearance. The thickness of the case itself is 210 millimeters minus let's give 10 millimeters to the extra space on both side panels for the extrusion. So that is down with that, and then minus one, even if it says 184, 186 millimeter clearance, and then you still have a very few, plus the fact that the motherboard thickness and a few more millimeters of clearance behind the motherboard tray, and the motherboard tray thickness itself, the math just doesn't add up. Plus, as you can see, I have my Codemaster Hyper 212 heatsink right here, and there's a 212 Evo, or 212 Plus actually, and it is practically a millimeter away from this part right here, and that is 158 millimeter tall heatsink on an Intel motherboard. So it definitely does not have 180 millimeter clearance, does not have clearance for 180 millimeter heatsink. So maybe InWin should correct that on their PDF. And because I even tried the Fantex, it really will not fit. Also, the 170 millimeter clearance or so, does not really make sense, even if you only put it sideways. The only way that 165 maybe would fit, because of this this acrylic side panel, but that would only be if you mount it north and south orientation instead of east to west, because as you can see, the top part is still in this area right here. It's far from the far from the extruded air at the bottom. Plus, there's no motherboard that will have the CPU sitting lower where this would clear at all. In this case, because as you can see, the center motherboard height clearance is right there. So it's always going to be sitting in that area right here, and it's not possible to have that much clearance for the heatsink at all. As for the clearance for the video card, that was a good thing. There's a collapsible panel there. You can fit an HD 6990. Very good feature to have, just in case you want extra room in there. Plus, there's plenty of mounting options for 2.5-inch drives. There's one at the bottom of the floor. There's one here at the top, and there's also you can screw them inside the hard drive caddy right on top of it. And there was no clearance issues with that as well. Also, I mentioned the build quality of the durability of the side panels. I was disappointed with the durability of the bottom, not durability, but sort of the sturdiness of the bottom floor. However, it is obviously a lot thinner than the side panels. You could just rewind this video, you'll hear me kind of trying to push it up and down. You can hear it pop in and out. Though there is really no concern that it would collapse, since it is steel. It is impossible. The tensile strength of steel sheet like this one is still pretty durable. It can more than handle all with your components installed there. It's not a Brazilian state. It's not just going to collapse randomly. Of course, but it would still be nice if it was sturdier, even though it is a 7499 case, especially since everything else is quite sturdy. So I don't know why the bottom floor has to be that way. Other than that, the In Win GT1, I really wanted to like this case, but there were just a lot of the good features were kind of matched with a lot of the features that were not practical. Also, I forgot to mention the fact that the back panel is flush with the PCIe panel, the video card area right here. That means it adds 25 millimeter thickness at least, as with the fan, and that will pose a clearance issue with heatsinks that are downward blowing, larger downward blowing heatsinks, because they cannot be positioned to kind of overarc in the back because of that 25 additional 25 millimeter thickness of the fan. I tried it with the Schoolmaster S5241 Gemin 2 heatsink, and there was a clearance issue with that. And also, I mean, other than that, it's still pretty good. There's plenty of room here at the top because there's no top panel, so you can essentially move your. What I would suggest is kind of orient your downblowing fan heatsink upward, if you have those type of heat sinks. But other than that, oh, I forgot to mention cable management. Cable management was good for this right part, but there was no cable routing area at the rear, at the top rear for an 8-pin CPU power connector, which is at this point is kind of a no-no even for a $74 case. There should always be a cable routing area for that cable. Especially if you have a large side window, acrylic side window here, you're gonna see all the clutter if you don't have good cable management, even on that part. Even if you have a good cable management part here, if you don't have a good cable management part on the other side here, that cable will still be dangling. And the only other option is to kind of route it on top of the motherboard, and I don't like doing that. Other than that, you can read the rest of the review. I have a lot more thoughts actually. This conclusion is already 9 minutes long. But just click on the information below for the link to the full written review. I have a lot more information and a lot more opinions about the In Win GT1 case. I would give this a bronze award, High-Tech Legion bronze award. It does a lot of things good. The performance, thermal performance, I love the thermal performance, the fact that it has a built-in fan controller, and it essentially allows you to run at 12 volt, the full 12 volt and at 5 volt, which is very silent, and the performance, thermal performance was still good at 5 volt. Other than that, click on the link below because this video is getting too long for the full review. Leave questions or comments. Subscribe to our Facebook at facebook.com/HTLReviews. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HightechLegion, or click on the subscribe button just right there. Tweet at us at twitter.com/HightechLegion, and join our forums. We have hightechlegion.com/forum. And this is Ron signing out, and thanks again for watching.